This is the Lambda Cartel podcast, EP004. Today we're going to be talking about the Nikeza or Nikeza or however it's pronounced spec. I am Pablo. Hold on. technical technical difficulties. Can you hear me, Scott?
I hear you.
Oh my God, I'm always messing up this. Oh my God. So let's do a one over. Let's do a do over. So this is the Lambda Cartel podcast, EP004. Today we're going to be talking about the Nikeza project. I am Pablo Rivera, and with me is Scott Nimrod. But first, let me ask an important question. Are you hiring software developers? Scott Nimrod and Pablo Rivera are seasoned software developers who are currently accepting project proposals. Get in contact with Scott at scott.nimrod@bizmonger.net or with Pablo at pr@yellow.com. And wow, I messed up the start of the podcast.
You can edit it and just spit out a new one.
I want to leave it as is because the second time I did it, it felt so good. And here's a pro tip for everyone out there who does this live hangouts. Make sure to mute the YouTube video, so that it doesn't come through your headphones, because that confused me. I didn't mute the YouTube video. I have it open in case somebody in the chat asks a question, but I did not mute it. So I was talking and listening to myself, and that just threw me off guard. Oh well, live and learn. This is a process, right?
Yeah.
So Nikeza, the other day, Scott and I think it was it yesterday that we were talking about Nikeza. We like 2 days ago, right? So I opened an issue on GitHub. You can go right now to our GitHub, github.com/lambda-cartel, and you can see the Nikeza repo, and then open an issue that's titled spec. And I just wrote there, let's start with an F# backend. Doing very, like a very simple F# backend that just spits out a static web page, and let's go from there. And then I don't know did you read that? Did you like getting in touch with me? Was a reaction to that, or was it a separate thing?
I commented on it and I said, no, I don't really like that. But I said it in a friendlier way.
Sure. That's what we needed. I think that, like when you have a project, there are some invisible like stumbling blocks or rocks in the way that you have to get over, like invisible obstacles that you don't see, but once you get rid of them, you have a lot of progress like really quickly. And so I think opening that issue was the catalyst to us really letting our creativity flow with what Project Nikeza is. Like knowing what it is not led us to think about what we want it to be and what it's going to end up being.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's something that, like, especially myself, purposely wanted to leave abstract until enough questions were asked to figure out, what exactly to focus on. So hence, I'm like, all right, people's content is fragmented everywhere across the World Wide Web. How can we consolidate all these pieces of people's footprint and put it in one repository where they can view their their content. Well, they can view their links to their content, and so can other people that are interested in what they have provided that's distributed across the internet. And so I think there are some good questions. Mitch was saying, "Oh, bugger, I need a spec. I don't know what's happening, what the vision is." You were saying the same thing, and I understand. I just really want to take advantage of people's imaginations so that I'm not necessarily a dictator and enforce something or make premature decisions that, well, I hate architects with a passion, and I think a habit that they fall into
Wait.
is to make
Software
premature
architects.
decisions.
No, software architects.
Yeah, software
Not normal architects. Like the
Yeah, no.
normal ones, they're okay.
Yeah, so basically, like people are like, "What? Where's this? What is he talking about now?" To make a long story short, I want to make sure that I or we don't make premature decisions and then pretty much become victims of it. And so, like to when there's a new project and there's a fuzzy idea of what I think would be awesome, I want to be very careful not to have a stone tablet and edge in, thou shall use this, thou shall do that. No, I just want to ride the current of exploring potential options of an ultimate solution, and then receive feedback, and then sleep on it, take a shower, let my brain run, and then all of a sudden a light bulb finally goes off. So that's
Yeah.
it.
I mean, for all of those people listening, um, it turns out that this happens on every project out there. And this happens on every product, on every business. I don't know if this has happened, like to you with clients, but I've certainly seen this pattern where clients come to me and say, we need X, or we need this app, or we need this application. And then I ask, okay, can you tell me more about it? Can you tell me, the details? They don't know what to say. They don't know how to respond. Because what people don't realize is that everything requires a period of discovery, right? You have to discover what it is that you're going to be building, what the problem that you're actually solving, how you're going to solve it, and if that is indeed a problem worth solving, right? So the aim, like the process that you took, the approach that you took, gave us a great outcome, because it gave us the ability to have a discovery period where we could all just think and say, okay, we definitely don't want this, we don't want that, we don't want to do X or Y, but we do have this problem that we know is it's general enough or common enough that if we build this, other people will benefit from it, right? And so I think that just shows the experience of, that comes with experience of building software, because the more software you build, the more experience you get, the more you will realize that teams need this discovery period where they can figure out all the details, and that's something that is not usually part of the whole agile or scrum or anything of those approaches, because
Yes, essentially everybody encourages big upfront design, even
yeah,
even the butchers of agile.
exactly.
They want to take advantage of the marketing word, say that they're agile, but continue business as usual. I'm not going to vent on that, but I think it's absolutely essential to put our egos on the shelf and really marinate on what problem we're trying to solve, and really focus on options. Okay, I've never served in the military ever, but I'm willing to bet that within the war room, they probably lay down a huge map amongst other papers, and they decide, or they consider their options on how they're going to strike, how they're going to retaliate, right? And I think the same idea could be useful in software. I really wish, I have a dream that in the future, we're going to stop etching in stone tablets, the frameworks thou shall use, and the all these other technologies thou shall use, and people really just software architects being full of themselves and acting like they have all the answers and that they never ever make a premature decision. And so I think, this is I wasn't planning on discussing this topic, but I think that
it's worth discussing here right now, because this is so important that before I take any client project, I actually have a discovery period. If I ask the client, do you know what you want to build? Do you know what problem you're solving? Because I don't want you to invest, to make an investment and then realize that the system that we built or the product that you were delivered doesn't really solve your problem and, doesn't really do what you needed it to do, right?
Or you needed to change course, and you get mad at me because it's going to take a lot of time to retrofit your new vision in the code that was already written into some system that you wanted to integrate with. Like,
exactly.
I understand that the more information comes in, and I think that's the main driving point that we're trying to express is, over time, information, just like a faucet, trickles in. Sometimes it rushes in throughout the course of time, and then we're able to make better decisions. Why? Because we have more information. We don't have all the information.
No, but we are better informed.
Yeah. So let's stop trying to make every possible decision that can be made at project kickoff, and embrace information trickling in as we make discoveries,
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the actual first stage of every project out there. Every project in the existence of humanity, like in history, has had a period of discovery, right? We didn't say we're going to take 3 weeks to discover this, right? You said, okay, I'm not going to write a spec until everybody chimes in. And then everybody said, okay, we're going to just think about this. And believe me when I say that I really, really, really thought about what Nikeza is and what it was going to do. And the approach was, let me just boil it down to the simplest thing that I could do, even if it's wrong, even if it feels wrong, so I can present it and others can say, nope, that's not it. But for it to serve as a catalyst, because one of the issues in the discovery process is that people don't tend to provide concrete ideas or somewhat concrete ideas because they know they're wrong, right? Your discovery process should be about discovering what the wrong ideas are so that you can find not the right idea, but a good idea.
It's like tracer bullets.
No? Exactly. It's
get me closer to the target by just seeing something.
Yeah, because I mean, building software is, it's a lot of times like being in a dark room, bear traps, and so having that discovery process, it's like having a little flashlight that you can at least flash around for 30 seconds and get a good idea of where the bear traps are, right? So you don't step into them. So let's define this Nikeza product. I mean, right now I'm calling it a product because I have this uh, still a bit fuzzy vision in my head, but it's more concrete. Let's talk about it. One of the things we discussed 2 days ago was that this was going to be front end. This at this moment in time, this did not need a backend. So that means that we don't need to save data locally. Locally being on our own system. We're going.
There's
Yeah.
been an update to that.
Oh, you have an update.
That as a team we can decide on, but I introduced it as a new task. But just remind me to discuss that later when you're ready to talk about it.
Okay. So the aim of Nikeza is taking, like you said earlier, taking all the content that we have online, be it on Medium, being on my own blog, be it on Twitter. I mean, just take everything and create one timeline where I can check everything that I'm doing. You know, this is basically for us. Check everything that I'm doing, everything that I've done. I can showcase that to others, and people can start following me without having to follow me on all the thousands of social networks, websites, etc., etc. So what we're looking for is a place where you can integrate of your content under one roof. Now, it's pretty hard to have everything under one umbrella, right? Under one roof. But we're gonna start with the what is most important for us. We're gonna start this from the point of view of the Lambda cartel and its members. So what does that mean? That timeline is going to have a feed of the latest YouTube videos that we have published. It's going to have a feed of the latest podcasts that we have released. It's going to have a feed of our tweets. It's going to have a feed of our comments on GitHub, or our commits on different repos. It's going to have our feed of our blog posts on WordPress or Medium or any of these platforms. And then we'll go from there. And one of the ideas that I personally had and the back portion that you mentioned a bit earlier, one of the ideas that I had was to make this portable, so that I could turn this into a sort of WordPress plugin / self-hosted solution that people can fork or people can share, add in their RSS feed URLs or their or their GitHub integration or whatever, and they can just add it to their site and be done with it. It would be like the portable timeline of sorts. So where does this backend idea or portion that you just mentioned come in?
All right. First, you made several references to timeline.
Oh, here it goes.
Well, I'm not sure if it's really a timeline versus just selecting some type of sorting option of show me from top to bottom the most recent content.
How was it that I defined it? Oh yeah. So the other day I didn't say a timeline. I was talking about a link aggregator.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Yeah. So like the way that I currently, with emphasis on currently, envision it is it's pretty simple. And I mean that like really, like it's just links, to your content. These links, similar to Stack Overflow, will have tags associated to it, or as a synonym, topics that are associated to these links, and they're categorized as videos, articles, podcasts, and answers, right? Mm-hmm. Hence, answers are the data that we harvest, for lack of a better term, from Stack Overflow.
Okay.
So the intent is, well, these people provide content. These are contributors to communities. These people usually help other people by providing content that's distributed across the World Wide Web. And so now I'm trying to get back to the most recent question that you asked, which you're asking me about. Before, this was pretty much no back end on our part, and that that was true and could still be true depending on how you guys as a team feel about what I'm considering as an add-on feature that isn't a priority, but I think it'll be. I think it could be cool. Is basically adding a feature for subscriptions. So what does that mean? That means that let me throw a user story at you. As a viewer of some of my favorite content providers, I'm going to throw some names out there because I really respect them, and these are people that I would subscribe to. Scott Vlashin, Mark Seaman. I'm just going to use those two. I would like to subscribe to their content. I don't give a damn about what platform. I don't care if it's Stack Overflow. I don't care if it's WordPress. I don't care if it's YouTube. I want to subscribe to what they put out there to the universe. Okay, we leverage Nikeza to basically provide that. Now, how does Nikeza provide that? Currently, now this is going towards. We didn't need a back end because we take other people's back ends, right? The APIs for WordPress, the APIs for Stack Overflow, the APIs for YouTube, we plug into that, and it's public information. Whatever content that these contributors put on those platforms, so you don't really current thought processes. You don't really need credentials. We don't. You just say, hey, on WordPress, this is my username. Hey, on YouTube, this is my username. Hey, on Stack Overflow, this is my username. Connect to all these different APIs, aka platforms. Retrieve all this data. Let Nikeza organize it, and let the end user benefit from it. Now they know all the content across the World Wide Web that belongs to individual contributors, and so that's the current thought process / vision.
Yeah, I mean, I now I realize that it's a better version of Reddit. And do you know what Reddit.com is, right?
I'm familiar with it. I never really used it before, but
Okay.
I mean, now that you say it, yeah, I think Reddit was. I thought Reddit was more of a community where people just share links and people pretty much trash each other.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the whole internet. No, that's the whole internet. No, but Reddit, I mean, I've been Reddit from pretty much the start, before Dig blew up, and I'm letting people know like my internet age here. Reddit, I mean, Reddit is a fantastic place if you find good communities. Like the website itself is divided up in different communities depending on subject, and I mean, it can be as meta as you can, want, or be very focused into one specific subject. And usually the smaller, less popular places are really, really good. For example, the shout out to the Python community on Reddit. That's really great. The F# community is really good too. We have the .NET community, very helpful people, same as JavaScript. I mean, lots of like everything is one subject.
So
and all the links go there, and people post links and they upvote them. But this would not have upvotes because this would be your own content, right? So there's no need for you to upload your own content. At least the sorting algorithm wouldn't have a weight added to it at first, right?
Right. So you say Reddit, and I haven't really spent that much time on that website or platform, but I would like to say that the current vision of what we're building, with emphasis on current, is more analogous to Kayak or Priceline. Those websites, they aggregate all the other different results from Delta, United Airlines, American Airlines, or whatever those airline companies are, and they pretty much present all that information bundled in a pretty red bow. And so I think that Nikeza is doing something similar, where unlike your Kayak or your Priceline, it's doing Stack Overflow and WordPress and Medium and maybe GitHub, and it's basically taking all those results based on what the user is interested in. In this case, the user isn't interested in the flight from Cleveland to Miami. The user is interested in, or I as a user am interested in all the videos that Mark Seaman has published, or I as an employer that I'm so sick and tired of these resumes. I want to see if this developer is really about the business. Resumes lie to me. I want to see one platform where I can see all this person's. Well, I can see this person's web footprint, and I can see how professional it is. Does he really know what he's talking about? Well, guess what? I'm streamlining all his answers based on the what his resume says he's the expert on Stack Overflow. If this person has blog posts, I'm taking that too. If this person has little tutorials on YouTube, I'm taking that too. And so that's kind of like the paradigm that I would like to relate it towards.
Wait, but I'm not 100% with that vision. You know why?
No, I don't know why.
Because a person's web footprint does not necessarily represent the real person, because we all have online personas.
No, but I'm talking about.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Like a professional, like a developer who blogs and who does YouTube videos and does presentations and commits to GitHub, right? I get that. But what if there is a developer and in order when you are building up ideas, you also got to try and destroy them.
I hear you.
Because I'm being the negative right now. So what happens when you have a developer that only does blog posts or only posts on Twitter? Are we only going to have, for that developer, will there only be an aggregation of their tweets? And what happens when that developer has a certain views of politics that he shares online?
Yeah, so
like how do we handle that?
My current thought process is Twitter's not a platform that's known for focused content.
Absolutely.
And so I don't really again, I'm curious what other cartel members think about in regards to this, but I don't really want to integrate Twitter.
I would like to integrate Twitter.
I don't.
because I do. Like if you read my timeline, you're gonna see that most of it is very focused. That's done on purpose, because I pretty much use Twitter for networking and to meet other tech people and yada yada yada. So, but at the same time, I follow other people on Twitter that they're developers, and there's one guy who's very into politics, and so like I'm thinking about the signal versus noise thing. We want to have Nikeza be for us about our technical chops and our technical progress and our whole technical footprint. But I'm also thinking like, what sort of subjects or things can squeeze by and just change the whole perception of people.
So here's the thing, like I'm going to fight you hard on Twitter because
Do it.
I want
Bring it.
I want Nikeza to be focused on content and not brain farts. Okay, so like, yes, I call tweets brain farts.
You did not go there.
Even I do it sometimes on Twitter. I'll just randomly put out whatever is in my head that has nothing to do with anything, and I don't really view Twitter as a source of good information about how to solve a problem. I don't. I think I use Twitter as people just blurb out stuff, and people will provide links on Twitter that other people will retweet and like. I don't think Twitter is a source of information for the type of content that people really want to share that will help others. I don't think Twitter helps people. I think Twitter is just it's just a community or a collection of various camps, and that's it. So I'm gonna fight you hard on Twitter. I don't want to integrate that at all.
I'm actually I disagree with you because okay. I've had so much good come through Twitter, and I mean, I'm gonna go right out and say it. I met you through Twitter. Like the Lambda Cartel is the Lambda Cartel because of Twitter.
I thought you heard about me from Developer on Fire.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
No. Twitter. Why? Because I use Twitter in the following manner. I follow. I don't expect followers. I don't want to be followed. I follow. I look for people. I don't care their opinion on politics. I don't care their opinion or any, or anything except tech. So anybody who has on their profile or on their timeline enough information that tells me this is a tech-minded person, I follow them because there's a lot of noise, like you said. There's a lot of people just talking about their own, like tweeting their brain farts and all of that.
Yeah.
That's beautifully put, but there is the eventual gold nugget.
All right, so if that's the case,
and like no, but not only tweets. I mean, one of the most caring and empathetic and amazing people I've ever met in my whole life. Pavneet Sond, and Pavneet because we've been connected with Twitter, and I met him to Twitter, and we Snapchat, and we talk, and we have this hour-long private conversations. And this is a guy I met on Twitter, so I feel there is. So my case is that there is value for us to integrate Twitter because there is value at the granular level. The big picture, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of things that you might not be interested in, but at the micro level, at the small level, I can say I can tell Nikeza, well, I wanna see my updates shown, and I want to see my conversations if the hashtag Nikeza shows up, right? Because maybe I can use the hashtag and Nikeza says, okay, this is a conversation that Pablo wants for me to show on the website.
And what about
I mean, there is value. There is absolute value on Twitter.
Then okay, one.
I can't hear you very well. You sound very far away.
My bad. All right. So one, because my fangs are coming out, is you implement it. But consider if you're going to do that, which I'm still fighting you on, then I think that you need to basically set some constraints on integrating with Twitter. Basically, I still want it to be about content. I still want that content to be helpful to other people, not random brain farts or trolling somebody.
No, that's, I think
I
that,
want it to be based on something that is useful that people didn't know and now they do.
sure.
I really want to focus on that. And
Substance. You
so
want substance.
well, I'm
Yeah,
not sure what the right term is, but if that's going to be done, then perhaps one can consider a constraint of uh, you only associating tweets that have specific hashtags that are backed by communities
exactly.
that solve problems. So, for example, Elm Lang, F Sharp, and any of that other stuff. If there's hashtags for that pretty much represent a camp of people that support each other and questions and answers, then I guess I'm okay with that. But I think I'm really I'm really like just hell bent on making sure that there's constraints on if you want to pull tweets onto this platform, because I don't want it to be chattery. I want it to show good links and not links to just retardedness.
Yeah, I know. So for anybody listening, I just applied the AIDA approach of sales to Scott. I just closed the sale on Twitter on Nikeza, with Scott. And so I love this. I love toying with Scott so much because he's so easy. I mean, you're such an easy sell. I wish I wish you had more money so you could buy more stuff from me. No, so the hashtag idea, I think that's where you and I reach an agreement. Why? Because I say I want content from Twitter, and you say, okay, so maybe we follow hashtags. And I say, okay, so but let's not only follow hashtags, but let me tell Nikeza, I can define. We can have a set of hashtags like Elm, F Sharp, Python, JavaScript, whatever, and then I can have my own personal hashtag. That's like a secret code word that I can put it in conversations. And then Nikeza will show that that tweet storm, for example, or that collection of tweets. I find value in there, and I mean, I think honestly, I think it boils down to the type of people that you follow.
It's an open source project. I'm not going to be implementing that part. So feel free.
You've called me a lawyer already on the last episode. What else have you called me? I mean, see,
I have strong feelings towards that. So go ahead. You can go ahead and build it and plug it in. I'm not going to have anything to do with it.
No, but that's cool. But that is the attitude. The attitude is not, I don't want that. The attitude is, we're going to architecture this in a way that anybody who wants to add their own feed, anybody who wants to, to have, that information from whatever website can plug it in and just be happy about it. And we can, and I can go and say, okay, Scott, you don't want to work on the Twitter code because you don't find that valuable to you. I respect that. But I'm going to build it. I'm going to plug it in, and I'm going to use it. And then you might have one for your website or one for Stack Overflow. And so that brings us to a very important point. This is going to be a plug and play type of system where you have a core definition of what a feed to consume is, like an abstract definition, and then you're going to have modules where they inherit that abstract definition. I'm being careful because I don't want to go into OOP right here, because people are going to say, oh, you're the Lambda cartel, why are you talking about OOP? No. So and we're going to inherit of sorts, that's a dirty word, I know, but we're going to inherit that abstract module and then create our own. And the beauty of that is that I think we can build it in a way that we can promote the building these modules and promote that open source, because that's the heart of open source. Open source is not me writing some code and sharing it. Open source is collaborating with others to expand software, right? Because you are given the rights to modify the source code, to read it and modify it and redistribute it. When we collaborate and maybe we don't see eye to eye on a specific feature, but you can build it and share it, and then I can build something else and share it too. And there's no friction there, right? So what do you think about that architecture? What do you think about that approach?
Well,
put it in functional terms, because I put it in OOP terms. I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash of that.
So here's my thought process. You got to put constraints on your question, because I'm thinking, even though this is an open source project, I'm thinking of it from a business perspective. My business perspective is I want to rush to market. I want to hurry up and build something that works. Now, the beautiful thing about potentially being a startup and rushing out a prototype, you know what the beautiful thing about it is, Pablo? I don't expect you to have an answer
for
this.
What is it?
All right, what? So I'm not going to answer it yet. I'm just going to drop.
You're being a
drop
tease.
this right
You're
here.
being a tease. You're being a tease.
Hear me out. Hear me out. When startups hack a prototype, aka solution, together so that they can present it in front of their investors, and their investors are happy because y'all built this really fast. Cool. Let's go ahead and extend it. These are the new features I want. What happens over time usually, based on them hacking something together really, really fast and then having to extend it? What usually happens?
Technical debt. Two dirty words.
Technical debt. Okay.
Yep.
Can you see what I'm about to drop as I just planted that seed?
I mean, I can smell the roses.
In regards to technologies that we're using?
I can smell the roses, but I haven't been I can't feel the thorns yet. So go ahead.
Okay. Thought process is, yes, you're absolutely right. Within my understanding of startup mentality is you hurry up and you hack a solution, you hack a prototype together, and you put it in front of people's face, right? And you get a response, and then you keep hacking it. Initially, it starts off really fast because you got the best hackers, professional debuggers is what I call them. But again, it's based on the business priority, right? But over time, it's exactly what you said. Technical debt starts building up until, their code base gets foreclosed. You know what I mean? So the beautiful thing about what we're doing, and I do think it's beautiful, I could be wrong, is, the end result of what those people build is using object-oriented technologies, okay? Those object-oriented technologies are technologies that aren't constrained to be testable, meaning that these people that hack solutions together for startups so that they can hurry up and make money ASAP and then go, their software is not sustainable because their software is not testable. Okay? You know what technologies we're using, Pablo?
Mm-hmm.
We're using functional programming languages. One of the core properties of a functional programming language is that they're inherently testable, period. Why? Because they have constraints to enforce you to write testable code. Even if you don't do test-driven development, you're still writing testable code, which means that we can quote unquote hack things together, but we should theoretically we should still be able to maintain a rate of feature delivery because we don't break anything. Everything can still be tested, and it's easier to find out what got broke without having to rewrite everything. So
yeah, I mean,
I believe that. I could be wrong, and there's people that I'm sure can call me out on it, and hopefully those people that call me out on it have way more experience than I do. But yeah.
But not only that, let's add a little bit of business perspective right here, right? Not only is the code inherently more testable, but
which means it's sustainable.
But it is more correct, which is why the slogan "Crafting Correctness," right? It is more correct, and there is less waste. There's less boilerplate.
Side effects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's more efficient, and in efficiency, it's one of those things that we really want in software and in business, because if I can streamline my process and get the same outcome, the outcome that I want, if I can change the process and have it be more efficient and streamlined and just be better, I will come out ahead further, right? So it's very important, like the business standpoint for functional, at least from my point of view, is that it allows that ends up being more correct over time, and thus you spend less time fighting issues, putting out fires, and focusing on what really matters, which is selling the product, making money, and making customers happy. I mean, that's why I'm sold on functional. Now, that does not mean that with OOP or any other paradigm, you cannot deliver. You can absolutely deliver, but
with good developers.
Yeah, but
exercise diligence.
Yep. You depend with functional. You depend less on the cleverness of the developer, and more on the tooling.
Hear this.
Yeah.
Let me know if this sounds familiar. No one wants to switch to a .NET alternative that lowers their net billable hours, and project managers don't want to be under budget and lose funding.
I wanted to discuss that tweet.
Does that sound familiar?
Yes. That's
Rick
one of
James 3000.
Yeah, and first of all, I don't want to I'm not calling him out. Like, we're not calling him out. We were talking about this the other day, and that sounded familiar. And I get his point of view, and from his point of view,
I think he was being sarcastic.
No, I think even if he was being sarcastic, that's a real thing out there.
Yeah,
because
I know.
people want to bill the most, right? If you contact me, or if you contact Scott, you might have this feeling that we are at war because I'm going to bill you the most, or I'm going to try and nickel and dime. And no, that's not really it. That's why we have that discovery process. That's why we use tools that allow us to build software not only within a reasonable time, but with a reasonable amount of correctness, right?
And
Software
the
software is never perfect, but functional is what I've found. The functional approach is what gets you, deterministic. And in plain words, it's the one that gets me closest to not perfection, but maybe closest to the goal, which is perfect software.
So object-oriented programmers will, how do I say this? Object-oriented programmers rely on side effects to get their job done. Yeah. Object-oriented programmers spend the majority of their time troubleshooting why their code doesn't work, and their code doesn't work because of side effects that they depend on,
or reading the base class, or figuring out why
data changed from underneath them.
Yeah, why this parameter is here when I'm not using it, or like.
Object-oriented programmers rely on variables.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right, I'm done bashing them, but I mean it.
But I am an object-oriented programmer because I write object-oriented code.
No, you're not an object-oriented programmer. Yeah, you're a programmer that has succeeded in being able to solve problems in multiple paradigms. One being object-oriented, the other one being functional.
Yeah, and I'm the marketing guy. You just nailed it. Yeah. But as someone who
you're not a slave of one paradigm. You have you lay out your options and then you pick. So.
Absolutely. And I read the other day a tweet, and here we go with the value of Twitter, that most infrastructures as a software platforms are basically Python scripts that you pay to use. And like the story behind that is that a lot of the automation when it comes to software infrastructure in the tech business is done with Python, because Python has a lot of tools like Chef. Like there's a lot of different toolkits that allow you to automate bringing up instances and creating and creating databases and copying data, moving them from one side to side. And turns out that a lot of those scripts are procedural, and some of them are object-oriented. There's no functional out there yet for Python that I know of, but there's value. And so point is that different approaches are possible for different conditions. And so you need to have the maturity and experience to say, this is not a problem that I want to solve with object-oriented programming. This is something that I want to solve functionally because of X and Y. Or maybe say, I don't really need to use Elm or F# here. Maybe I can do a 20-line Python script that I can add a couple of unit tests to it and just let it run by itself all alone, and nobody will notice that it's there. I think that's the gist of it. And so, can we come back to Nikeza?
Yeah. What have we not talked about that within the closing minutes?
Where do we start? Because you've written a lot of code. I've
been refactoring the hell out of it. Like I'm learning as I'm going, and so
I know. So you're building with the intent of learning Elm, of developing your Elm skills, and I'm glad that you're doing that. For me, that's not a time waster, because I'm your code, and I can process your ideas easier. And that's another. Oh my God, that's another benefit of functional programming. Like, I know what your intention is right off the bat, because there's no base class for me to find anywhere. There's no abstract factory. There's just a type and a bunch of functions. and I can say, Scott here has a user type, and I see that he has a login and a logout function. So this is obviously a user authentication system, right? So that's one of the benefits of functional. And so all that code that you've written, I'm reading it and I'm following it, and I'm not commenting on it because I don't really want to disrupt the flow. But there is value.
I think you should. I think I was thinking about this when I was riding my bike earlier today. I think someone on YouTube provided me feedback because, oh yeah, by the way, as we are building out this platform, some of us are actually documenting our journey, and we're doing like blog posts and YouTube videos. And so I did a YouTube video on basically generating dynamic controls and basically handling the state changes of those controls. In this case, these dynamic controls are checkboxes that are basically based on a set of topics that we can filter on. So to make long story short, someone said, hey, have you considered, modifying this code over here to something?
It's not stopped. If you're listening right now, we're having technical difficulties.
The whole point.
Scott, I'm sorry.
I was
just telling listeners that you suddenly dropped off and you just joined in. So please continue with what you were saying.
Well, that sucks. I was just going to say that I encourage code reviews because I want to learn and I want to basically be more knowledgeable so I can make more money, period. So tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me how I could do something better. Ultimately, I benefit from it. So
yeah, I like to provide feedback, but since I'm also in this discovery process too, it's my own process. I like to read a lot of code. I don't read as many books as I'd like because I spend a lot of time reading code. And I find that reading code at first, before you really dive into a language, lets you understand, a lot of the intentions of the language designer and a lot of the problems that the language is trying to solve. And I don't ask questions because I'm trying to learn from you, and the particle, I don't bother you because I don't need to know where you are in time, right? Sooner or later, we're gonna have those code reviews, and they're going to be, what I want to aim for? I want to aim for coding reviews that don't end up being that are not negative, that are not about the mistakes that the developers did. I want to have code reviews where we take the problem at hand that the developer aimed to solve, and say, okay, this is a good start. This is a good solution. This is a good start. Let's see what happens when we do this. Let's see what happens when we do that, and make it a process that reinforces the developer rather than destroys their code. Because I don't know if you've ever had a code review in the industry, but it ends up being people asking you like, Scott, what the heck were you thinking? Like, what is this crap? Like, why would you do this? Right?
Oh,
that's not really what I want.
Not me, but I've done it to other people. But not in that way. It's just more of, hey,
why, Scott? Why?
Like, have you considered using this approach? Like, I mean, yo, the only perfect people, only perfect programmers are John Skeet,
Dead.
Mark Seaman,
Are dead.
Scott
No,
Washington.
they're dead because they don't write any. No, the only perfect programmers are those that are dead because they don't write any more code. That's it.
No,
Yeah,
it's
but
I view it more of a learning opportunity, and but to your point, you know, and referring back to earlier within our conversation, the code that I check in usually works, but it doesn't mean it's the final code. It's just yet another revision of it. And so when I say like I've been refactoring like crazy, I have been. So it's hopefully the next time you look at it, it's more legible. So I think a lot of us are concerned that we might be judged on our our first version of code. Period. We might be judged on it, even though this is more of it's a process, right? It's revision after revision after revision. Just like when I construct emails, man, I proofread it, I copy paste it into a Word document, I run spell check, I'll paste it back into my email, proofread it again. I'm very insecure about my emails, and then I say, you know what? I'm gonna revise this like 2, 3 times. I think it's good enough, and I send it. And it's the same thing when I'm writing code. It's like, don't judge me based on what you're looking at. Judge me when I say code complete. You know.
mhm. and still, we're doing this process of openly discussing these ideas, and that's liberating. To anybody who's ever wanted to do something open source and wanted to vlog it or podcast it, let me tell you that this is. Yesterday, I did my first vlog for the Lambda Cartel. I was doing the design layout for the Lambda Cartel website, and I used my whiteboard and my little HD camera, and the video came out pretty good. It wasn't I wasn't scripted. It was just me just discussing, just giving, like, telling people my tips, my tricks. I bumped the camera with my feet a couple of times. So, total amateur hour, but the results were good. And last night, I was doing the second video. I was doing a live broadcast, and still on our videos list, but it's private or unlisted. I don't know. It's not public. Streaming, I was screen sharing and showing people how I was writing the code for the website, and suddenly my wife opens the door and starts just talking in Spanish and saying like, where have you been? I've been calling you on the phone for the last hour. Like, you don't answer. I don't know where to find you. I'm like, I'm live streaming.
Wow.
No, but thankfully the screen sharing was cut short before that happened, and so the video ended up, does not really work for anybody to watch it, because it's, if I pull the audio, it's just me rambling about HTML and CSS and JavaScript. So I'm going to re-record it today, but I use that as an example of put yourself out there. Don't be afraid of doing this. Don't be afraid of blogging. Don't be afraid of podcasting. Don't be afraid of talking with people, of having that communicating, of putting your ideas out there. And don't be afraid of disagreeing with somebody, because I still disagree with Scott about the Twitter module, but we realized that we can meet in between. And that right there is very powerful, very valuable. And that's the whole idea behind it. In open source, you have to meet people in between. You cannot expect people to do things for you. You have to be willing to get your hands dirty, but you should also be, try and be empathetic and understand where other people are coming from. And so, any closing statements? And I know you hate that question. Any closing statements? This is revenge for the Twitter thing.
So, closing statement would be what about? Has it been 3 weeks or 2 weeks? I feel like it's
about
been
3 weeks.
Since
about 3 weeks now.
Since the imagination has gone into implementation. So from imagination to implementation. That's a catchy slogan. Anyway,
that's some Disney stuff right there. It's from imagination to implementation.
yeah.
I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna sell that to somebody. From imagination to, that's gonna be the title of the podcast.
Or a book. But just we're all going on a journey. Check out some of the podcasts and videos that we're all doing. If you're not familiar with who we are, you can go to the Lambda Cartel website and you could check out various profiles of some of the cartel members. I like saying cartel members. I feel bad when I say that, like in a good way.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
Yeah.
But for those people out there, we're not drug dealers. We're not criminals.
You're not a drug dealer.
We're just come on. See, that's I'm just gonna stop the broadcast. No. So why is it the cartel? Because we are outliers. We're not outlaws. We're outliers because we think that software can be built better. We can still build software more correctly, and that we can deliver a better product with a better approach.
And I would like to add on to that. I would like to say what also, I guess, contributes to us wanting to call ourselves a cartel is the fact that we all have our own identities. We all have, I guess, how do I say this? We all have our own lives, our own visions of how we want our careers to go or our businesses to go. But at the same time, like a cartel, I would like to think we collaborate to manage expectations of the market, and we promote each other. And so we get together to be organized so that we can have more control and establish more power on how things should be done, because I think all of us are committed to the idea that building software can be done better. And so let's both test and lead the way of how this can be done.
Exactly. We're trailblazers, and I mean, it's it's a process, but is that from imagination to implementation. That's what we're doing. We're taking our ideas, our imagination, and we're implementing them. We're making them happen. So thank you to everyone out there listening. We will see you or hear from you on the next episode. Thank you so much, Scott. This was a really awesome episode. I mean, this is the best episode since
you said that
started.
last week.
Yeah, I mean, we are improving leaps and bounds. Like every time we stop the podcast, I immediately download it and listen to it on my phone as if I was a consumer of this information. And I'm just like, this is gonna sound like I'm being like ego driven here or very conceited, but that there's an improvement, and I'm dogfooding our own products, dogfooding our own content, because I really want this to not only be as good as .NET Rocks. I want .NET Rocks to be featured on this podcast, not us to be invited on their podcast. So yeah, that's how good I want it to be, and that's the goal. Not to talk, and this is not like a stab at them, because I really look up to them. I really enjoy that podcast, but that's one of the goals that I want for the podcast. And so, you know, Richard and what's the name of the other host?
Carl.
Richard and Carl, if you're listening, prepare yourself.
I didn't say that.
No, prepare yourself, because we're gonna invite you over to our podcast. Right? We're not gonna do
cartel.
Yeah, the cartel is hunting you.
Get dealt with.
It's hunting you down. No. Okay.
There you go. Uh-oh. Where you go? Pablo.
Like to produce a podcast over such a long period, because I mean, they've been doing it for like before the internet. It's crazy. So thank you so much for listening in. This has been Pablo Rivera and Scott Nimrod from the Lambda Cartel. We will see you soon. Bye-bye.